Everybody, welcome to On Grade. This is episode 17. Devin is not in studio tonight. He is handling business and taking care of stuff he needs to take care of for Ruben. So I got my special guest tonight, Colton McCormack from the Certified Wrench Podcast, a local DFW fellow podcaster. Glad to have you on the show, brother.
Thank you, sir. Glad to be here.
Welcome to the show. So tell us your background.
First of all, I'm a field service technician for a construction company here in the DFW area. And as you said, full-time podcaster, I guess. Background-wise, I've been wrenching basically my whole life. I started off as early as I can remember, hanging out with Dad and doing stuff around the house. And then we got into racing outlaw carts when I was about 8 years old. And he made me work on my own trucks. See where my brain's at, working on my own cars and stuff. And then when I got up to about 15 or 16, he's like, we got to get out of it. It's too expensive. So he's like, we can take the money from your race car and buy your first car if you want. So it's like, cool. So that's what we did. And I ended up spending that whole summer restoring it. I bought a Volkswagen Bug. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. So anyway, fast forward, got out of high school, knew that I wanted to turn wrenches. I really wanted to be a heavy equipment mechanic, but I didn't want to go to college for it. There was a Caterpillar program at the local college in California. I kind of left that out. I'll get to that in a minute, where I grew up. But I didn't want to go to college. I hated school and stuff. So I got out of high school, and the local automotive shop there, I knew the guy that owned it. And I would always bug him about coming to work for him and stuff. And finally he was like, fine. He's like, come this day, prove it, or, try to prove what you can do and blah, blah, blah. And it was kind of, I worked for him for one day, and the next day he's like, okay, when can you start? So it was right off the bat, 18 years old, So I ended up working for him for about 6 years, and I got a little bored with that. And a guy I knew worked for a repossession company, and they were wanting to start their own fleet program. So I went to go work for this repo company as their quote-unquote shop manager, and that didn't really work out the way I wanted it to. Being a shop foreman, but no pay. And turned out that I could actually make more money being a repossessor. So I went and got my repossession license and private investigator's license, and then became a repossessor for a little while.
We both have that in common, by the way.
Yeah, it's
a thankless job.
Luckily I only ran into trouble like 2 or 3 times, and I was in Oakland, California, if you're familiar with that area. Mm-hmm. And if you're familiar with it, you would know that it's a sketchy place to be, but I would go and make extra money. And anyway, got out of that pretty quick. A friend of mine was working at the deer dealer in California. I should probably just get this out of the way. I grew up in Northern California. Outskirts of Sacramento area. A lot of people think that, when you think California, it's Los Angeles, San Francisco, and beaches and surfing. It's not. I grew up in the middle of nowhere, farming and all that good stuff. Anyway, made my way up to further in Northern California and started working for an ag dealer out there, John Deere ag dealer. And worked there for a little bit, and that's where I met my now wife. And we ended up getting together and deciding that we wanted to move to Texas.
There you go.
We're I forget how many months together, like 3 months, and we decided that we're going to move to Texas together. And so I ended up getting a job with the deer dealer here, construction deer dealer. You know what that is. It's your best friends. And it almost didn't work out. The job that my wife had lined up, it fell through. And luckily, the lady that was hiring me, she was going to be my service manager. She was like, well, what does your wife do? I'm like, well, she works in the warranty department here at the ag dealer. And she's like, let me call you back, and So anyway, she pulled some strings and was like, well, we need a manager for PM maintenance I cannot talk tonight, for preventative maintenance. And basically we had to drive out for my interview, and they flew her out because it was a management position. I still give her shit for that.
Yeah.
And anyway, so they offered us a job both at the same company and said, okay, you got 3 weeks to be here. So we sold everything and moved here to Texas within 3 weeks and started our jobs.
That's awesome.
Wild. And that was when I started working on construction equipment. It was 2017, and I will never go back to anything else. It's my passion. It's what I'm good at, come to find out. And I don't work for the deer dealer anymore. I quit during times of COVID and was aspiring to go out on my own and buy my own service truck, but that didn't really work out because COVID got worse. And got my ass kicked by a couple companies and finally landed where I'm at now. And have been there almost 3 years, and I love it there.
That is an incredible
I left out a lot of shit, but, I just wanted to give you a quick rundown. We'd be here all day if I had to tell you everything.
So I do got to admit, guys, if you get a chance to listen to his show, I know a lot of people on here, excavation, utility, civil work guys. His show's awesome. Like, it really opens your eyes to the guys that we pick up the phone and call and go, hey, dude, dozer's leaking hydraulic fluid. No, I don't know where it's leaking from. It looks like it's coming out of the belly pan. I can tell you that much.
It's coming from somewhere.
And I'm parking it by the rock entrance so you don't have to worry about getting out in the mud. And usually that's it. We go park the truck, you go park the machine, jump in another machine and go to work, or we get sent to another job. It's these guys that are the lifeblood of any company. They keep the machines running, and without them, we wouldn't be able to make a living. And so from every operator, every foreman, superintendent, and business owner, thank you for what you do, man, because you guys are the lifeblood of making this business happen.
Well, I got a little flustered at the beginning, but I was going to say I'm Colton McCormack, and I'm here on behalf of all heavy equipment techs to complain about operators. I didn't. But, and by the way, don't judge me for being from California.
Yo, we're not judging, dude. I've had a couple guys on now from
really
Cali.
Brian was from from Bakersfield.
Brian's from Bakersfield and somewhere else. All right. Anyways, so tell us how you got started on the podcast, man.
Man, that's a tough one. It's something that I've always wanted to do, and it kind of sucks to talk about. But my wife ended up in the hospital in Christmas Eve of 2020. Yeah, I believe that's right. She ended up in the hospital, and it was something that I had been like throwing around, and I was talking to her about it. Like, I kind of want to buy some equipment as she's laying in the freaking hospital bed. Like, I really want to do this thing, and she's like, just fucking do it,
Yeah.
So she really pushed me to start it, and man, I bought everything in December that last couple weeks and decided to lay down a crappy sounding episode on January 2nd and released it January 3rd, and it just was like bam. So it was I'm sorry, I take that back. It was 2021 when I or December of 2021. So 2022 I fired it up, and I released the first episode and it was like, oh, I got 74 listens. Holy crap, that's great, And then like I hit 1,000 in 1 month, and like, oh my God, that's crazy. And now we're hitting, anywhere from 12 to 16,000, depending on if I bust ass and release an episode once a week for, the 4 weeks of the month, I can go pretty big. But lately it's been 2 episodes a month because stuff's been going on. Wife's pregnant, all this stuff. So I've just kind of been stepping back, which I need to get back into it.
It is. And I think another thing that people don't realize, us guys that do this, is we have to go months ahead of time and find people to come on the show. Like you're constantly hitting people up like, hey dude, you want to come on my show? And they might be like, hey, man, nothing personal, but like I got like 5 things going on that week. I can't really do it. You know, I'd love to. A lot of guys want to come on. You know, they want to tell their story.
Yeah.
But it is hard.
Yeah, it's luckily I don't have that problem. I've got at least 40 people like waiting to come on. It's just like trying to schedule, and most people are not in Texas.
Right, but once you get your name out and you get your niche out, it's a little easier. Like us, we're growing. You know, we're still getting our name out.
Yeah.
And it's so cool because you found us through listening to us, and we really appreciate you listening to us. And you turned us on to you, and we started listening to you, and I'm going, man, this guy's awesome, dude. Like they're
only the newest episodes.
Oh, whatever, man. It is eye opening to listen because you guys are talking about stuff that I never would think would be a big deal to talk about.
Yeah.
And I've been around mechanics my whole life. You know, I've known diesel techs my whole life and stuff, and they never talk about the stuff y'all talk about because I'm not one of them. You know, now it's like you're peering into behind the scenes and really seeing what goes on in y'all's brains about stuff.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you know, I suffer from hardcore ADHD. So like I'll be at work one day and be like, oh man, I'm going to go home and lay out this perfect episode. Like I'm going to call this guy. We're going to do it. By the time I get home, I'm like, no, I want nothing to do with recording or work or, you know, because a lot of people don't realize that, you know, I work full time and I work a lot of hours, and now in the heat.
Yep. And
podcasting can be basically a full-time job just doing that, you know, if you really dive into it. And a lot of it's out of pocket. You know, a lot of stuff I've done is out of pocket, and I've spent thousands of dollars.
You spend a lot of money.
You have too.
A lot of money getting this going, and you know, we got a Patreon going and stuff. It hasn't gotten us anything yet, and I'm not worried about it going that way. Honestly, what I'm trying to do is get like a university going to help guys. We're going to call it the round table, but it's going to be to help guys starting a business. It's going to help them with learning how to track maintenance costs, how to set up hourly rates on machines, how to bid a job, you know, just basic stuff. Yeah. And so having a guy on you come on maybe for the round table, we'll do it through Zoom, and maybe you and I can sit in the studio and we can run it talking to the guys all over the country. And that's the ultimate goal. Is I want to help people. I'm not here to yeah, it's a perk to get to do what we do. But at the end of the day, I wish there was a podcast out 5 years ago when I went out on my own that could have warned me about half the crap that I had to find out the hard way, you know, and go, wow, this guy really cares. Like, he wants to help people. Because you know this as well as I do in construction, nobody wants to help anybody. Yeah, they say they want to help each other. We do help each other. Yeah, we send each other dirt, you know, stuff like that. Nobody's going to tell you how to bid a job because that means your competition. Hey, guys, I hope you're enjoying the episode, but I'd like to take a minute of your time to talk to you about today's sponsor. Are you a GIS professional, land surveyor, or construction professional looking for the best in surveying equipment, software, and service? Look no further than AGS Inc. AGS Inc. is an authorized dealer for TopCon and Sokia surveying equipment dealer and EOS aerial mapping products dealer. With a supply store in Grapevine, Texas to serve the DFW Metroplex, Central Texas presence, and a corporate headquarters in Houston, Texas, AGS has you covered. Stop by and experience the AGS Inc. difference today. At AGS, it is a service after the sale that counts. AGS is the proud sponsor of the On Grade podcast. On Grade podcast listeners, give these guys a call if you want to talk about bringing precision surveying, layout, drones, GPS, GIS, or 3D scanning spatial technologies to your company. Thank you, and have a great evening. Back to the episode.
Well, that, and you got all the old guys that just learn it yourself.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to treat, they're not realizing that, like I say it on the podcast a lot, they're not realizing that they're going to be retiring and nobody's going to have the knowledge that they do. And that's like, I'm only 34 years old, but I'm very knowledgeable when it comes to machines. And anytime I can help somebody, I will. Like, my buddies hit me up all the time, you know, and it's like, hey, I've got this issue with this John Deere. I don't work on them. Can you help me? And most of the time I can try to help them and get my crystal ball out. And yeah, I think it's this, you know. But
Unsung heroes, mechanics, man.
Yeah, I try.
So, what would you say is the biggest thing for somebody starting out, learning the maintenance, setting up a maintenance program for their fleet? What would you recommend them doing? These guys that are just starting out with skid steers, brush hogs, stuff like that.
Man, that's a tough one because where I currently work, obviously we have a fleet.
Yeah.
I just work for a private construction company. I don't handle any of that. I just go and wrench. But my boss has a pretty good setup. He's got I think it's Google Drive maybe.
Yeah.
And he's got all the machines in there, what hours they have, when they're due for service, and every day our field guys get the hours on those machines. And then obviously we have JD Link because 95% of our fleet is John Deere. So he's able to track the hours. And so if you're able to do that, that'll make it easy on yourself. But I'm sure somebody starting out doesn't want to pay for JD Link and all this stuff. But just keep track of the hours, is the best way I could put it. I mean, that's saved my ass so many times. There's a program that we use. I actually use it for my podcast as well. It's called Basecamp. It's on, I don't know if you can get it for Android. I think you can, but we use it for Apple, all of our Apple products. And we type notes just like it was a customer. We type notes in there. This, hydraulic leak at 9,000 hours, and we put what we did, what we found, all this stuff. That way, like, who worked on this last? I can go back and look. I highly recommend Basecamp. It's a phenomenal program. And like I said, I use it on my podcast. It's on my phone.
That's really cool, man, that you can use it multiple ways to do stuff. That's really cool.
And it's free.
That's cool. Might have to get the link from you. I'll put it on the... Actually, guys, if you're listening on YouTube or listening on Spotify, I'll put the link at the bottom in the description. So if you guys want to download it, you can. Definitely recommend it. I just use it to keep track of all my guests. I put the guest name and then questionnaire. And then, like, if I do schedule them, I can put the date on it and all that good stuff. So sounds like something that my manager over here might need to check out.
But I don't know if I answered your question, though. Did I? I mean,
I think you did. My biggest thing is try and shop around, finding a good local mechanic or using the app like Heave. Heave is, we just started using them, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago. Brian from Moss and Garrett from Moss called me, and I put a post up on LinkedIn a while back. I says, and my mechanic, I used him for years. He's great. He's a good friend of mine. Still does stuff for me. But I had like 10 oil changes coming due in like a week, all 500-hour services, like hitting and right in a row. And I'm like, dude, this never happens, but it's happening. And I'm like, he can't get to all of them. So I got on LinkedIn and I was like, hey, does anybody know anybody to call? Like, anybody got a good, good shade tree mechanic that come out and do services on equipment? And Garrett goes, you got to get this brother some Heave. And I'm like, what the hell is Heave? And shout out to Heave, by the way. You guys are phenomenal, and you guys do an amazing job.
Oh, so you actually use them?
I use them all the time.
That's good to know, because the guy that's running it, I can't think of his name off the top of my head, and I apologize. We've been in contact. He wants to be on the podcast at some point, and we've even talked like possible sponsorship.
There you go.
But I'm like, dude, we're good. Yeah. I'm willing to put their, help them put their name out there. That's fine. Yeah. But
guys, check it out. You can get it on Android or Apple. It's called Heave. It's Heave. I believe they're already in California, Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, and somewhere else. They're going to be in all 50 states pretty soon. They're ramping up. They're less than a year old, and they're already in 5 states. It's pretty much the Uber and mechanics, guys. So what they do is, you call out, you get on their app, you put down what you need done on the machine. So say it's got a broke track, or you need to replace oil filters, whatever it is. It could be something very simple. He will get an alert, and they'll line you out a mechanic, and usually within 4 hours, there's a mechanic on site working on your machine. You will get a call from their rep, and our rep is out of Colorado, and he's an awesome dude. His name's Kyle, and I talk to him like once a week. And he goes, this is the first question he asked. He said, hey, dude, how do you pay your payment terms? I said, well, we're net 30 with most people. He goes, yeah, that's fine. I said, is that a big deal for y'all? He said, no, net 30. So what they do, guys, is they will cover the cost of the labor and the cost of the maintenance and the materials needed, and they'll pay for everything. And you get a bill, QuickBooks invoice, and you pay it in 30 days, and it's great. And they'll send you an alert, and if you get a bunch of invoices together, just group them all together so you can just write one check, or you can just pay them over the internet on an ACH or whatever. And it's great. It's been phenomenal. Having that, we were able to start fixing little stuff that, like, my old mechanic just could not get to. It'd be like, hey, dude, we need this light fixed. Okay, I'll order the part. And then 2 months later, he's like, yeah, dude, I'm sorry. I hadn't had a chance to get over there, but I'm going to come and change that light. Now it's like having a service tech in the shop, and I can just walk in the office. Hey, you can go out and fix the 850. This is doing that. Yeah. It's like having your own mechanics, but you don't have the overhead for it. So for guys that are my size company and smaller, it's perfect because I can't justify 4 mechanics on staff, 2 in the shop, 2 in a service truck. I'm not there yet.
Yeah, it's
now
expensive.
I got 50 machines running. Yeah, I'm gonna go get some mechanics because it's gonna end up being cheaper than Heave, because Heave's great though for, like I was saying, for that guy that's getting started, to the mid-tier company like me, where you have maybe 10 machines. You're not quite at that justification point yet of, oh, hey, I need to hire a mechanic. If you do hire a mechanic, yeah, put him in a service truck. But guess what? When he's not fixing something, he needs to be pushing dirt. That's what you need to do with that guy. That's the guy you got to do that with.
I would totally do that.
That's the way when I was working at smaller companies, the ones that did have mechanics, that's what they would do a lot of times. They were cross-trained. Those guys were operators.
That's cool.
And were mechanics.
I've tried to run blade, working at the deer dealer, working out on job sites, like, oh, I need to test this machine. So I'm out here pushing dirt in the 850, or I was on a motor grader one day at a mine, and like they're running on the roads. I'm sitting here like, okay, I think I got it on the right side. And I look over and it's digging deep. And I'm like, how do they do this crap? But yeah, I've heard great things about Heave. I haven't actually got to experience them or anything yet. Like I said, I've kept in contact with the guy, and brain farting on his name still. I'd have to go on LinkedIn and look. But yeah, man.
So when you're doing maintenance, man, like, what would you recommend to the viewers for most machines? I know, you're supposed to do every 250.
Supposed to.
Who does it?
Well, I mean, so my boss has worked for Deere since 1980. He worked his way all the way up to like general manager at the construction dealer, and ended up leaving. He's been with my current company for 18 years now. So him knowing everything, he's on top of that shit. Like, if it's due for service at 500, it's not going to go over 505 hours. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm kind of spoiled when it comes to that. And then I don't do any services unless it's in the shop and it's slow and I'm, sitting here, I need to service this thing. But most of the time it's our lube guys that do all the services, and it's on top, or they're on top of it. Yeah. So I just recommend doing it if you can.
Yeah, some of us poor fuckers can't do every 250. We got to do the 500s.
I understand. I mean, I have a service truck. I'm balls to the wall. We try to do our service trucks every 5,000. Yeah. And there's times where I hit 8,000 miles and I'm like, hey, I need to service this thing. Okay, go do this. We'll then do it after. Yeah. Well, that turns into 3 more days because I never go back to the shop. So
yeah, you're praying for a rain day. You're praying for a rain day to throw it on a lift and change the oil.
Exactly.
When I was working at Senecola, I remember that all the time. I'd have, we got back to it, but there for a while, they just let us go to the oil change place by our house.
Yeah.
So on Saturday afternoon, we always work Saturday morning, and my last 2 hours of the day that I was working Saturday, from 1 to 3, I'd go service my truck. I'd go get the oil changed done. I'd go get it washed, detailed, do all that crap. So I'd take my 250 over there, get everything done. And then they go, oh, no, that's costing too much money. So you're going to start bringing them into the shop, and the mechanics are going to change your oil. Pull into the shop on a Saturday afternoon trying to get your oil changed on a pickup.
Yep.
And every maintenance guy's like, yeah, dude, we'll get to this next week.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right. And so I went like 10,000 miles, and I finally went, fuck it, I'll pay for it myself. I went and got it changed, $500. So I wrote up a,
Jesus.
well, it was a diesel. So
Lifters are tapping.
Yeah. I had to go get, fuel filters, everything.
Yeah.
So I go into the office, and I turn in a reimbursement form with the receipt. They call me like 2 hours later. My supervisor calls me, not my superintendent, but the general superintendent for the company calls me. He's like, "You think we're going to pay for this?" I said, "Yeah, it's a company truck. I just paid for this for the company." And he's like, "Yeah, you got told to start bringing them to the shop." I'm like, "You go in there and talk to the head of the shop then, because guess what? They are not changing our oil."
Yeah, and imagine.
You want me on a job site, or you want me sitting here on a Monday afternoon getting my oil changed? You tell me, I'll do it.
Because you're one of how many guys that have those pickup trucks?
About, at that time, we probably had 50 guys. 50,
Exactly.
60 guys, yeah.
Yeah. So you're not just the special one.
Yeah.
Everybody else is in line too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's we have that too. We got a bunch of crew trucks, F-150s, and we've got guys that just work on those trucks, and it's great.
Yeah, if you're at a big enough company, it is. But Senecola, for a long time, they weren't doing that. They were just having us go and get them changed at the oil place.
Which is nice.
It was cheaper.
Yeah.
It actually was cheaper for them than to pay a mechanic, buy all the oil, buy all the filters. It was cheaper to just go to Quickie, a Quickie change place and do that. Now, we get our tires and stuff done and brakes done at the shop. But, oil changes, it's like, really? Why are you even wasting? We're burning money when we could just go to the one by our house, get it done, and be done with it.
Yeah. Yes, sir. I can't not argue with you on that. When I worked at the Deere dealer, they didn't like us working on our own trucks because they didn't want to pay us to work on our trucks. So they would be like, hey, just go here and have your oil changed. But every time I went to this place that they told me to take it, there was something wrong. They'd break a coolant line, the plastic line, or forget to put the fuel cap on, and there's oil down the side of my truck. Luckily, they paid for the wash, which I guess that's kind of my fault because I should have just opened the hood for my pre-trip. But, I mean, come on, these guys are professionals, right?
Hey, DOT, you're not listening, right? he did his pre-trip.
Hey, I'm not. I have a CDL still, but I don't require a CDL truck anymore, so I was going to say piss off, but
Well, what would you recommend though for the guys coming up? Be a good setup for them to get started, like doing maintenance on their own stuff. Just would you recommend one of those? I can't remember the name of those trailers that they just came out.
Oh, like a fuel trailer?
Yeah, they
deal.
just came out the last couple of years, and everybody's starting to run them.
Those things are freaking
Cool.
stupid. They're badass.
They're like $50,000 though.
Yeah, there's a lot of those out in the fields in California where I worked, but they're stupid expensive. But I mean, they're badass.
Yeah.
If you're a smaller guy, then yeah, definitely, because you can put fuel, oil, everything on them.
And you don't have to have a hazmat. That's what's really cool
Yeah.
about it. You don't have to run hazmat with them because it's the way the tank system's built. It only holds 100 gallons per tank. And as long as you're only running 100 gallons in each sealed containment, you don't have to run hazmat. That's actually a misconception. So that's how they get around that.
I don't. That side of stuff, I couldn't really tell you. It's been so long since I've actually had to change oil and stuff on a machine, but there's plenty of ways to go about it. We're gonna, I guess, figure out what you're gonna do with all your stuff first. Used oil, because some of these things hold a lot of oil.
Yeah.
If you're just using a drain pan and gonna dump it in buckets, I don't know.
You're probably better off just hiring a third party guy for a while.
There's a buddy of mine, that's all he does. He worked at the same Deere dealer as me, and he ended up getting let go, and he fired off his own personal lube truck, just put some tanks and stuff on it, and he's staying busy with it. And so, I mean, if that's where you want to go with it, there's guys out there that just do services, I could definitely recommend that.
So what's up with the undercarriages now, bro? Costing 25 freaking grand.
What's up with them just being junk?
Yeah. I mean, you used to get 10,000 hours out of an undercarriage. You're barely getting 5 out of them now.
Yeah. Well, I talked to you the other day, and I said I was ripping tracks out from under a 350. That thing had 3,800 hours on it.
Yeah.
Pulling tracks on it because it keeps losing pins and breaking them. So luckily, we bought 4 sister machines. They're all one number off serial number.
Yeah.
And I've had problems with every single one of them. And finally, Deere got involved, and they're paying for new tracks, new chains at least. But, obviously, we got to pay the labor to have them repadded, and I got to put them back under there and all this stuff. But they're junk.
Yeah, they really are.
I don't know. I don't understand.
I put aftermarket tracks on the 750, and you probably remember that when you came out and looked at it. It had those aftermarkets on it, and it's got 4,000 hours on it right now, and they were trying to tell me I need to change the rails.
Yeah.
And I told the guy, I says, that's cool. I'll call somebody else. He's like, no. I'm like, it broke a link.
Yeah.
Big deal. It broke a link. Cool.
Yeah.
We'll put a new link in. He's like, what are you going to do? I said, guess what I'll do if I have to do it? I'll replace all 24 of those links. And I'm still not putting rails on this thing because I'm not spending 15 grand at 4,000 hours. It's not going to happen.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And, everything's going up, obviously, but we've had a lot of good luck with like the ITR tracks.
Yeah.
But, if you're going to dig into it, you might as well do everything else.
Yeah.
But, we've got rollers that go bad on these things, top rollers.
Yeah.
At, dumb hours, like stupid low hours. And like I just did one on one of those 350s, a top roller, and it was almost 8 all the way through the shaft. And I'm like, I don't understand that. It never used to happen that way.
No, you get 10,000 hours and you might have to look at it.
Yeah. They'll lip before they go bad, So I don't know. Maybe it's just cheap like everything else that they're making these machines out of.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing that shocked me was, so we got the 750. That thing had never had an issue on it. And our 850, the day we got it, we were the 4th contractor in Texas to get 850L. So it was like the 4th one. Mm-hmm. And I got it in February of 20. It was right before COVID started. We got it. And I think a day after we got it, the DEF system exploded. And so they came out, and of course, they immediately replaced it. We got a brand new one. They brought us out a loaner machine. Of course, they didn't have an 850L, so they sent us an 850K out. We got that for like a month. Like, they towed it onto the haul truck. They brought one of those wrecker haul trucks out and towed it back to the Irving shop. It was out there. Dude, the paint wasn't even off the blade yet. And they fully replaced everything, took great care of us. I got nothing bad to say about that. But it was hilarious because they called me and they're like, hey, this might happen again because they have figured out what's causing it, but they haven't made the part yet to replace it.
Pip.
So we're gonna warranty this for an extra 3,000 hours. And I was like,
that's fine.
Cool.
Yeah.
So about 3 months ago, it blows up. And they call me, and I'm like, yeah, it's got 4,000 hours. I still got 2,000 more. You promised. And they're like, well, that was during COVID, and we were just trying to help people through hard times, and we thought you were going to put more hours on between now and then, and it's been 3 years. I'm like, cool. So I called the guy, paid him $4,000, he deleted it. That was the end of that. So cool. Yeah, I've got a deleted dozer, so I don't care. It rolls cold.
I've been kicked off a job site by a company. I've talked about it in my podcast because they had it deleted. And on Deere, they get the automatic updates, software updates, and they forgot to tell or accidentally hit the automatic software update, so it started throwing all kinds of soot level codes. And it's a big company. I know you know who they are.
Yeah.
I called this guy. I'm like, hey, you need to call whoever did this delete and have him come back out. Blah blah blah. He's like, okay, let me make a phone call. And he called me back about 5 minutes later. He's like, I need you to leave the job site. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Well, they thought I was going to turn him into the EPA.
What?
Like, hey, man, I'm all for this stuff.
Dude, like the guy from Deere came out to work on the GPS the other day. He was like, he turned it on. He goes, sounds good, dude. I'm like, yeah, it's deleted, dude. He's like, bet.
Yeah.
Like, nobody cares. Like, it's everybody's like, oh my God, it's the end of the world. I'm like, bro, have you seen those 80 657s running all over town?
Yes.
Everybody's running them, dude. Nobody cares. Like, and honestly, you're putting a system on a machine. All it's doing is choking the power. Mm-hmm. It's burning more fuel. And then you got to add an additive to it. And it's just more money out of your pocket that you can't even charge for.
You're adding additive to a system that has more chances to fail.
Yeah.
Downtime. We didn't need none of that shit.
Yeah.
They got the same exact machines in Australia with Tier 3 engines in them still.
Yeah.
Brand new. 850Ls, 210Ps.
Yeah.
All these new P machines are coming out and they're junk. I try not to talk too much crap because I got some... This isn't my podcast. I can talk all the crap I want. And I just realized that. Because on my podcast, I have a few Deere engineers that listen. So I try to, I'm not a big fan of this machine or whatever. That's the furthest I'll go. But
so these tier 3s that they're still running, they're like the old school ones we were running, 14 before DEF actually came out on the machines?
So you got your Tier 3, which is, there's a mix between the two. And then you go to interim Tier 4, which is everything but the SCR system for the DEF. So you still have like a DPF and stuff. So Tier 3 doesn't have a DPF. It just muffler.
Yeah.
They're doing like an interim Tier 4, but without the DPF and everything. It's just a muffler. So could you imagine that here? Obviously it's going to dump smoke, but all the power you'd get out of that thing.
Well, we were running 8s at Senecola. It was the last year they had the DPFs in them. And you had a gauge on there, and it would show, it looked like the def gauge, but it would go up and it would go down during the day. Mm-hmm. And it was just how hard you were working it. If you're working it really hard, it would get up there, and it wouldn't slow you down or anything, but you'd be rolling smoke.
Yeah.
And then it'd stop, and then you'd do less hard work with it, and it would drop right back down. But it was cleaning the soot that way.
Yeah, usually when the harder you work them, the better it is on the machine.
Yeah.
We used to tell operators back in the day, drive the damn thing like you stole it.
Yeah.
Because then you'll never run into regen issues.
Yeah.
Unless you have a fault or something, but when you're like, we have that issue now with because we do underground utilities only wet, excuse me. And, a lot of the times they'll dig this trench out, and then the guys will be down in the trench doing something. Well, he's got this bucket just sitting on the ground watching from his cab, or they get out for lunch and leave the machine running because it's hot outside. Mm-hmm. And we're trying to tell them, you can't do that because that 45 minutes lunchtime is, just adding soot to this DPF, and we're taking hours off the machine. And so we've been trying to drill that into their heads because most of our stuff's, Tier 4 stuff now. We have very few that
are Tier 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which we're phasing out because they're getting high on hours.
Yeah. I think the oldest dozer I ever ran was like a 97. It was a D6. It was an old square cab before they put the angle doors. That thing, you'd pull that clutch in and you pull that throttle lever. You let that clutch out. That thing just, dude, you was like, dude, I could rip a house down with this thing. This thing was a monster. Yeah. You felt like you were running a dozer. Like, I get them now, and I'm like, this thing's got plastic in it, dude. This ain't even a bulldozer anymore.
You see that? Yeah.
I grew up, dude. I'd sit on my uncle's lap, and we'd be running, he'd run like old, 963Bs and, D6s and the old D8s. And it's like, dude, this crap now is just, it's nice, don't get me wrong. Like, the creature comforts are way better. And, but besides that, like, you don't have anything else. Like, you don't have the power anymore. You traded luxury for power.
Yeah. What? You got Bluetooth on the stereo now. You can hook your phone up.
Yeah.
That's all these guys worry about,
Yeah.
The air conditioner and the radio.
I won't lie. When I was an operator the last 3 or 4 years, my AC went out. I didn't show up for work until it was fixed. I called my foreman, and he's like, hey, I'm like, did you get a rental machine? No. Did you get another machine out there? No. Good luck. What? Yeah, I'm not coming out. You're going to show up or I'm going to write your... Well, you go ahead and I'll sign
Get
it.
that paper going,
I
buddy.
said, you go ahead and have that paper sitting on your tailgate when the AC's fixed. I'll come sign it for you. I'll come sign all 3 of them. Call fucking Holt and have him come recharge the damn AC already so I can get my ass back to work.
Brave dropping names on your podcast. I try not to, but I understand. I just don't want to get sued, if I say the wrong thing or something.
Well, I don't think that would be anything. I'm just saying get Holt out here to charge the AC.
Yeah,
That's who would do our ACs back then.
It scares me.
Yeah, I get you.
No, it's all good.
We never really talk negative about anybody. We try not to. And if I do talk negative, I'm like you. I don't say the name. It's unfortunate that you are being censored to speak now, though.
Yeah,
it's very sad. I mean, the olden days. Yeah, and I get it. In business, you're not supposed to slander another company. You're really not. Mm-hmm. But owning my own business, I've learned that. But I can't tell how many times I get phone calls from people. Did you hear what they said about you last week? I'm like,
I don't care.
I don't care. That's why I do this.
Well, and I forgot that you put this podcast on YouTube, and I'm over here cussing. I didn't even think about it, so I'm going to watch my mouth.
We're not monetized, so it's fine.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. I'm not worried about it. We have like 95 subscribers. Oh, by the way, guys, while you're listening, if you would, please get on our YouTube and subscribe. We'd love to have the listeners and the viewers.
I got you, dog.
Yeah, we got you. The thing is, man, if you're that afraid that you're not going to get monetized because you curse a little bit, watch the Joe Rogan podcast.
Oh, yeah. That's one of my favorites. I love that guy because he's such a conspiracy theorist, and I'm like, oh, my God, he's right. Is he right? That he gets me going on that shit, and that's one of my favorite podcasts. But,
he's getting monetized still.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of YouTube channels like stuff. I know they're monetized.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you set your settings where that part where it says it was made for children. I think if you say no, you're okay.
Yeah.
I think if you clicked yes though, and you were monetized, and then they caught you cursing or something, they'd probably take it off.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't. When it comes to the certified wrench, I don't use names just in case.
Yeah.
There has been times where because I things ended bad when I left the construction deer dealership, and it was because of the bros, the buddy group that was there. They obviously messed with my livelihood by firing my wife because they were mad at me. So I try not to.
Oh, I got you.
I've talked about the politics of it, and gave the insight, because there's a lot of things that get pushed to the side with these big companies like that. Like, they'll let people go because somebody got caught doing something wrong, and that person knows, so they'll let them go. So I had no problem, telling people that this is what happens at these big companies. Are you sure you want to go work there? So
yeah,
it left a bad taste in my mouth, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to start a podcast, to let other people vent about things, and hear about these big corporations. I digress.
I don't really. I don't try to bash anybody, dude.
Yeah,
I
of
really
course.
don't. But sometimes, it's unfortunate that you're trying to help people, but you're not trying to be like so over sensitized that you just don't tell them really what's going on in the world of what we do. And I tell guys all the time, I'm like, hey guys, at the end of the day, you got to protect yourself. You got to protect your company. And if you can't do that, then you're failing, because at the end of the day, nobody's your friend.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody is there. Yes, we all work together to get a job done. Those other contractors out there, they ain't your friend. They'll screw you over just as quick as the GC will.
Yep.
I mean, it's just, it is what it is. It's an unfortunate thing, but you got to be careful. You got to watch your back. And it's the same thing like you're talking about with the podcast. You got to watch your back, because you don't know. So the wrong person could listen to the episode, and all of a sudden you got a lawsuit filed against you.
Yep. Yeah, it's scary, but so I just try to watch my P's and Q's sometimes, and sometimes I'll talk a little shit, but that's it.
Yeah. Like I really don't I like you were just saying, I don't really say a whole lot, but I do talk about it. I talk about somewhere I worked, and I say their name, but I never slander them for it.
Yeah.
I just say, hey, when I was working there, I'm like, why were we doing that? We're just trying to save money. So, if anything, I'm just trying to help. I wasn't trying to hurt anybody.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing about working on equipment? What is it?
The pay. To be brutally honest, I do it for the money. I busted my ass over the years and got to where I get paid really well. And, that's what keeps me going. But as far as like the machines and stuff, I found, like I said before, I found a passion for wrenching. I hated working in automotive for so many years. Jumped into the ag side. It was good. I learned a lot. But when I came here to Texas and got into construction, at first I hated it because I was used to the good old boy farmers, You can sit and bullshit with them. You go onto a construction site, that machine better be fixed.
Yeah.
And some of these guys are assholes.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. But it was this being able to fix the machine, diagnose it properly, fix it, and learn it within a certain amount of years. Because like I said, I've only been doing this since 2017, and within a couple of years, I became one of the top field technicians for the Deere dealer. And so, I mean, it was just quite, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, gratifying, right? To be able to learn this stuff so fast and then be able to make money. But yeah, ultimately my paycheck is what drives me, because if I had the option to get out of it, I would.
Yeah.
That's just how it is, man. I'm 34 years old and my back's done and my feet are done and I have arthritis in my wrists, and I wouldn't change it.
No.
I would do it all over again if I had to, but if there was another option I could do to, do something else in the industry, I would. But for now, I'll just keep plugging away at it because I'm sure that opportunity will come.
Yeah, I got to say, man, I see what you guys do every day, when they come out working on our equipment and stuff, and I'm like, mad respect, dude. You can bend me claw under that thing. It's been raining all damn day, hydraulic oil all over the place. I'm like, mad respect, man. I mean, and you'll see a guy will come in. You can tell if you're the first job of the day, he's got a clean uniform on, and then you can tell the guy's been on their 3 machines already that day.
Yeah.
And he's covered from head to toe in grease.
I got to say, I'm very spoiled where I'm at now, and it's nice to finally,
Yeah.
I don't work 70, 80 hours a week like I used to. I'm 50, 52 at the most now.
Yeah.
I don't work weekends unless it's absolutely needed. Like we got a bunch of rain that week. We need to catch up on Saturday. And it's not dealership life. They're not running me balls to the wall, and you stop at a gas station to get something to eat real quick. It's noon and there's like, why are you sitting here for 10 minutes? My boss is he treats me so good, and he takes care of me because he knows where I came from and how it was because he worked there too.
Well, and also being a leader, man, you're supposed to take care of your people, and
of course.
That's something we harp about all the time on this show is taking care of our guys, taking care of the guys that make you money.
Yeah. And, he's getting up there in age, and he's expressed to me that, obviously, so I came in as a lead technician. I've got 1 guy under me right now, hopefully soon to be 2. And he's expressed to me, I'm not going to be here much longer. I'm going to need you to step up into like an assistant management position at some point, which will be fine with me. And then he's like, eventually possibly take over, fleet management. And I'm like, hell yeah. So just hurry up, because I will do it. Management's always scared me because I'm always afraid to make the wrong decision on something, or
right.
So hopefully he works me into that, and slowly, and maybe I'll learn and be able to take over. So, yeah, I mean, things to look forward to, I guess.
What do you recommend to the listeners about really staying on their machines, though, maintenance-wise? What are you recommending?
As far as like somebody that owns the machines,
Yeah. Guys starting out.
there's multiple things for maintenance-wise, depending on what it is. I've gotten out of a lot of the dozers and stuff now. It's just excavators, loaders, and backhoes. So I've gotten into this routine to where if I go on a job site and we have 1 or 2 crews going, I'll go to work on a machine, but I'll like eyeball other machines that are there. And like if I see something obvious, it's like, hey, can I take care of this real quick? Or is it something that we could take care of in the near future? If it's something serious, call the boss like, hey, I see this on the machine. We need to down it pretty soon or get it to the shop, whatever. So if you got somebody with good eyes, or if it's you that know, like say you own your own business, I'm sure you know what to look for.
Oh, yeah.
So you're probably seeing that stuff. I highly recommend learning the machines. There is a owner's manual in all these machines when you get them new. Look up. There's maintenance. There's, they give you a lot of information in these books.
Yeah.
And they come in handy. I've looked at them. So, yeah, I would definitely recommend learning machines, whether it's a backhoe, skid steer, or a freaking motor grader.
Yeah. Grease especially. Grease every day. Yeah, these guys just don't grease enough, man.
Just don't over grease a machine.
Yeah.
I worked for a company for a couple weeks. They're big here. They have a bunch of 657 scrapers. They over greased the shit out of their machines, and they were miserable to work on.
Yeah.
And it wasn't doing anything. It was just piled up. You know what I mean?
Wasn't lubricating.
No. So, I mean, every other day, every 2 days, hit all them grease zerks.
The biggest things that should get hit every day is like the boom and the stick on an excavator. But it's the stuff that's being moved constantly. Like your blade on a dozer, that should be greased constantly. Your stick, but like, dude, the spots on the tracks, you can do that like every 2 days. Especially on an excavator and you're on a stockpile for a month. You're not moving those tracks that much.
Yep.
You're on an 850 and you're doing a massive fill and you're tracking forward, back all day long. Yeah, grease tracks.
Yeah.
But like, if you're out just lollygagging moisture conditioning, going, whoop, 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 you don't gotta.
Those were the worst moisture conditioned dozers.
Oh yeah.
To work on.
No, it tears up the undercarriages.
They're obviously driving through mud. If one breaks down in that pit, you're screwed.
Yep.
Those were the worst to work on, but the worst for me was landfill machines.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to be away from
I don't
that.
even want to think about that. I don't even want to talk about it. It just sounds horrible.
Yeah. And
I'm just imagining baby diapers, and it's just.
Well, if you work for these big companies, they're always like, well, your safety is our main priority.
Yeah.
Until you go out to one of these machines, it's just like, we'll deal with it, because there's needles on these machines. There's probably dead people in these landfills, and that was like, I've said it on my podcast, it was always like my fear to climb under a dozer or something and be an arm hanging out of the track, or you drop a belly pan and an arm come falling out, but it's just a used tampon that hits you in the face, Yeah, it sounds nasty.
It sounds horrible.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, I think the worst one I ever saw was I was stuck on a side of a stockpile. My track broke on my 8. And I was like 40 foot in the air. And I remember the mechanic was on site because we were just running so many machines. We just kept a mechanic on site.
A resident.
Yeah. And I called my foreman and I'm like, hey, you need to get a mechanic over here. He's like, well, I was like, I just snapped my leg. He's like, how the hell did you do that? I don't know. I'm like, I just greased tracks this morning. They weren't tight. They weren't loose. They're just right. And he's like, all right. So he comes over. He put aftermarket tracks on. And they didn't follow the torque spec. And so, snap.
Did you do it like a good operator and drive it right off the track at least?
I stopped it on the track.
Oh, come on.
I knew exactly how far to go, too. I backed up a little bit, so I knew all he had to do was pick his crane up and I had it so it was already sitting over the top link, so all he had to do was just hook it. Tried to make it easy on him.
Yeah.
But it was fun because he's sitting with a service truck, vertical, next to the dozer, and he's like this, leaning on the dozer, like forward, trying to run the link together. And I'm sitting there helping him. And it took us like 2.5 hours, but we got it back on. And that was the worst one I've ever had.
Yeah, I think it's Arlington landfill.
Yeah.
They have 1050s out there, 1050Ks, and they broke a track and drove it right off the track. So if you could imagine trying to get the machine back onto the track.
Oh, my God.
Which the track is curved from them driving it. It was a nightmare. I didn't give a shit at that point. I wanted to get the track back on. I didn't care what we were going to do. I literally stuck the links back because it broke the master link, and they have the alligator teeth. I slapped that thing back together and just welded it just so we could get it out of the pile. And it made it back.
The weld held.
Yeah,
that's awesome, dude.
That's you do what you got to do in those kind of things.
I've seen some mechanics do some pretty gangster stuff just to make it happen.
Yes.
It's awesome.
I've done it.
Yeah, I think we all have. As an operator, mechanic, whatever. Yeah. I've had tracks so loose before. They're going to come off, and I'm like, give me 6 tubes of grease.
Yep.
Just get it tight enough to get it to the shop.
Yes.
Get it on the haul truck, at least get it to the yard. But, I mean, maintenance is no joke, guys, and I can't reiterate that enough, especially when you're starting up, man. You got to take care of these machines because these machines make you money.
Yeah.
And if you're not taking care of them, they're going to start breaking, and you think it's expensive to just do an oil change. Yeah. Blow a motor up, blow a transmission, go through.
Yes. And if you're going to, I've listened to your podcast, on, I think it was the last one with Devin.
Yeah.
Talking about operators and how to pick them. Make sure you got a good operator that cares about this machine like it's their own. We've got operators that literally wipe their cab out every day and take care of their machines, and then we got guys with soda spilt down the side and just looks like shit. And so obviously I know what operator I'm going to help, faster than the other one. But we have in every single one of our machines a sticker that says this machine takes or pays your paycheck or whatever, take care of it.
Yep. And
some people follow that.
Yeah.
And we've got crews that just they've got machines that look brand new still because the foreman's like, nah, you take care of that machine. Yeah. That pays our bills,
I had in my machine every day, I had glass cleaner. I had a can of glass cleaner. Mm-hmm. When they used to have little cubbies up front.
Yeah.
I had glass cleaner. I had that little wire brush so you could brush out your floor. I had paper towels. And I had 2 air fresheners because I smoked. But no matter what I would do, I would always turn off the air when I smoked. I'd open my window, I'd smoke, close it up, turn the air back on. I never smoked with the AC on because I knew 2 things. The smoke's going to get in the system. It's going to screw the air system up. And secondly, you running with the windows open while you got the AC going, that is the best way to screw up an AC system on a machine.
Thank you.
I fired guys for running with the doors open and having the AC on. If I catch you, I'm like, hey, you got your AC on? No. I'm like, put the blade down real quick. That's cool. Go park it. What? Yeah. Go park it. You want to pay $4,000 to fix this? Because I'm not dealing to it.
Yeah.
You want to spend all August with no AC? I'll make it happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I worked on a machine today, actually. It's an older 470, still has a Isuzu in it. This operator, he's newer, but he takes care of this machine. The seat cover's falling apart, all this stuff, but he's like, I clean it, or he takes care of it. So I always try to help him out as much as possible till he can get a new machine.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for him because it's like every time I'm like, yeah, we'll get your seat repaired. We're going to take care of you. Something else happens to where I can't fix it. Luckily today, it's losing an injection pump slowly. Yeah. So I'm like, hey, man, I just got to get this other machine done that's in the shop. And as soon as that thing is taken care of, we're getting your machine in the shop, and we're going to completely take care of it for you because this guy deserves it. He deserves a brand new machine, but unfortunately, that's the way things are going right now. We can't even get machines.
You guys rebuilding them?
depends on what it is. Like
Yeah.
we've got a 350 in the shop right now that it needed line boring done on the boom.
Yeah.
And the boss is like, well, those tracks look a little wore, so let's go ahead and throw chains and rollers on it and sprocket segments. And so it depends on what it is. You know, if it's
it's a critical path machine. Yeah.
like we have a bunch of 336 cats that are getting up there in hours and they're starting to fail on everything.
Yep.
And he's just like, let's just kind of Band-Aid it, and we're just going to get rid of them.
Until we can get them traded in.
Yes, because they're just falling apart.
I'm at that point. I'm putting Band-Aids on a couple of machines right now. And the only reason I'm Band-Aiding them is I know in about a year, the way the workload's already starting to slow down, you're seeing it too.
Yes.
They're going to be giving them away in a year.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm showing up with all my shit, and I'm getting all brand new stuff. Everybody's like, you're crazy. I'm like, interest rates will be low, and those machines will be dirt cheap. Because, yeah, you get close to paying something off, but if it's falling apart and it's costing you, okay, that's great. You have all these payments. But if your payments get done and 6 months later, you got to replace the motor in the thing, it's like, that's 4 months of payments on it anyways. What's the point when I can just go get one with a warranty on it?
Yep.
It blows up, they replace it. No brainer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or, you know, you got to use a machine you could put an engine in. That comes with a warranty too. Don't even waste your time rebuilding it.
No.
Just buy that long block and put it in because that thing comes with a 2-year warranty. That is a no-brainer.
Yeah.
We just did that on a 8,000-hour machine. It cracked one of the liners, and we were going to rebuild it, and it literally costed $100 more just to get a long block.
Yeah, you're better off getting a brand new one. Yeah.
So
and then having them put it in.
Well, no, I put it in.
Oh, you guys put it in?
Yeah, but of course, you know, it's a high-hour machine, so I pull the engine out. I break a hydraulic line because it's old and crusty, so fix these things, get the motor in. Other things fell on it because it's old. So it got a lot of stuff when it was in, which it needed. But, yeah, it all comes with maintenance. I mean, there's certain things, you know, you keep asking about maintenance on machines. You get these higher-hour machines, there's stuff that you necessarily can't fix in the field, I guess is the best way to put it. Like, hey, this machine's going to come in. Let's take care of it then. Like, it's going to be down too long if we're going to have it in the field.
Right.
So there's things that you can't take care of unless you really needed it. I've had engines out in the field before. I've had heads off in the field if needed. But if you don't have to do that, don't do it.
Exactly.
So, you know, my boss is, if it needs to come in for something, bring it in. We'll get a spare out there. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Well, Colton, it's been a pleasure having you on tonight, man. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Has it already been?
About an hour, man.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. No, whatever you want to talk about, man, I'm available.
I mean, it's up to you, man. We usually do about an hour 15, so I didn't know if you had anything else you want to talk about.
There's all kinds of stuff, but we
We
don't have to get into it.
We got 10 minutes. Come on.
Well, we can talk about, you know, we've been having hell finding mechanics. You know, you talked about heave, all that stuff, trying to get even operators and stuff like that, you know, trying to get these people into the trades, and are they worth it? You know, a question for you is like, obviously you're having trouble finding people.
Yeah.
What do you think would be a good way to get the message out to these younger folks that we don't need to go to college to get into the trades, you know, make good money?
I think the other problem, though, that we're running into is we're in such situations right now on these jobs. This is the other caveat to that answer is if you're in a company that has 400 operators, 400 machines, all that, you have push dozers, you have non-GPS excavators out there that are not digging grade, they're not critical path machines. They're doing the cut fill job that you got 15 feet of cut, and by the time you get down to about 2 foot before the cut, you're going to pull that guy off that part of the job and send him down to the big cut because he doesn't have the experience. So you're going to have your experienced guy take that portion of it over to get it to grade the first time, so you're not doing rework and you're not losing money. The problem is when you're not doing those size jobs like I am, where you have to get it to grade the first time and be done with it, or you're losing money. And so it's an unfortunate thing that you have to get experience, because if you don't have the mid-sized guys and the smaller guys don't have that luxury like the big boys do of, hey, we can just bring a guy off the street and teach him how to be an operator. Well, I've only got so many laborers, and the 3 laborers that we have on staff, they're going to move to a seat first. And so because they've been around our equipment, they understand the type of jobs we do. And if I bring a guy off the street that doesn't know anything and I throw him in a cab, how's that fair to those laborers? So that's, to me, how I look at it. I look at it like you need to earn your place to run a machine. I had to. I was a laborer for 2 years before I ever touched a cab. And so, when I hear guys say, well, I want to learn how to run equipment, it's like, cool. Well, come out here and run a water hose. Well, I ain't got nothing to do with it. Well, you want to learn how to run a machine?
That's not the big bucks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you want to learn how to do it or not?
Yeah.
And a lot of guys, they're working in a warehouse. They're running a forklift. They're making decent money, so they got used to that. And now they want to get out of it, and they want to come into construction. Or they're in college, and they're told their whole time, you're going to make 6 figures when you get out of college. And they call you, and they're like, well, I want $28 an hour. And it's like, dude, that's what I pay a finish hand.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's got a 40-hour guarantee. But that guy's been doing it for 20 years. So when I hear guys say that stuff to me, it's almost infuriating, because I remember what I had to do to earn my place. You know what you did to have to earn your place.
Yep.
So it's almost like this entitlement thing now. I had a kid call me. I called a kid today. I'm hiring a guy right now. I can talk about it. I was trying to hire a kid today. And I said, hey, man, I saw your resume. He's from California. No, nothing against people from California or anything. It's just the wages are different out there. So, and I know the cost of living's a lot higher.
Yeah.
I'm not arguing that. I'm not at all. So he called me and he says, hey, man, I can run a dozer, I can run a loader, all that. I said, can you finish? And he goes, what? I says, can you finish? And when he says, oh, you talking about like putting it to grade? I'm like, yeah, it's called finish work. And he got real quiet. And I says, that tells me right then and there, you're not an operator. You don't even know what that term means. You're not an operator. And he says, yeah, well, I was getting paid $28 an hour out in California. I'm like, okay. And he says, yeah, I need that at least here. I says, good luck finding a company that's going to hire you for that. And he says, what do you mean? I says, you could probably come in with somebody at $22 an hour. It's still decent money, and, learn the trade and learn how to finish and then go earn that $28. And he's like, oh, well, everybody I called's told me that. I said,
You're going to keep hearing it.
yeah, you're going to keep hearing it. I mean, that's just how it is. You don't get the raise before you get the experience. You get the experience and you get the raise. And I'm not saying, we talked in a few other episodes you probably listened to. We talk about incentivizing our guys.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm not trying to say that we don't. But at the same time, it's a give and take relationship. You learn, I pay you. You don't learn, you don't get paid no more. You get paid at the level that you are. If you're a good mechanic, right, and you're doing the real technical diagnostics, like the guy you had on the show the other day, the guy that's, I think he was out of Alabama.
Yeah, Jeremy.
He was talking about that. He was saying, well, they call me in if in a 5-county area they can't figure it out. There's 5 different dealerships, and if all 5 can't figure it out, they'll call me in.
Yeah.
I guarantee you that dude's getting top hourly rate.
Oh, yeah. And that guy was bright. He's smart.
And that's because he learned it.
Yep.
But I guarantee he didn't start out making that much money. He was probably a grease monkey, doing lube changes and changing filters out. And I guarantee it, he worked his way up to diagnostic. So when I hear a guy tell me that, it's the same concept with dirt, though. When a guy's like, hey, man, I want to come on. I don't have any experience. It's like, great. You're going to learn how to run a water truck. You're going to learn how to run a roller. And you're going to take care of them. And if you prove you can take care of those, we're going to put you on a skid steer. Oh, you run a skid steer. And put you on a dozer. Oh, you run a dozer. You're going to go run a track loader. You run a track loader, you're going to go run a hoe. Oh, you can run a hoe? You're going on the blade. You run the blade? Here's the plans. Run the job. What?
Damn.
And they're like, oh, I've got a foreman. That's cool. You're lead operator out here. You answer the foreman. well, you want the money? You want the responsibility that comes with it, because that's what comes with it.
Yeah.
Because guess whose ass I'm going to come chew when shit's fucked up? Ain't going to be that operator over there. It's going to be you. That's just how it's got to be. I mean, when you got mechanics under you, they screw up. Who's your boss chew out? Them or you? Choose you out.
Luckily them. I'm just kidding.
No. But am I right, though?
Yeah.
He choose you out,
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah. No.
Because he expects you to enforce the rules.
Mm-hmm,
He expects you to do your job.
Yep.
Middle managers have the toughest job. I respect them so much. I've been that guy. I've been a foreman. I've been a superintendent. Middle management is the toughest position in this industry because you have to be tight with your guys. You got to be cool with them. You shouldn't be their friend. I'm going to say that you got to have that boundary. But at the same time, you've got to ensure that the company's making money. And you got to watch out for the welfare of the guys, though.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Of course.
You've got to buck back to the office when they're like, well, why isn't this done yet? Why isn't this done yet? It's like, well, we've had 4 machines break down. We ain't got no trucks. The trucks keep breaking down. You know, it's just example after example of things that you have to ensure are being done. And this is where maintenance comes into the whole thing. What we just talked about, I just said break down. If you're not doing maintenance, shit breaks down.
Yeah, we actually, that's funny you bring that up. We have a new job site starting in Crowley, and they quoted it as dirt, and they dig down 10 feet, and the last 5 foot is rock.
Yep.
And it just completely just stopped the job because now they're having to dig through that rock, and it's probably going to take a little bit longer. And of course, it's going to keep me busy because we're going to break shit.
Yeah, you guys are getting paid out the butt now too. 'Cause you got a rock clause in your contract, guarantee it.
Yeah, hopefully.
Oh, if who you work for, I know who you work for. I'm sure they do. They're pretty intelligent guys.
Yes, it's a well-run company.
It's a very good company. I've heard nothing but great things about them.
They've been around since the '60s for a reason.
Yeah,
they've been doing something right. So,
they have very nice equipment, man. I see them out on the road doing work.
We get compliments on our crew trucks, our service trucks, because they're always clean, and our machines. Like, hey, we see your machines everywhere. It says your name big on the boom, and you guys have the best looking machines. It's like, yeah, because if they need something done, we do it.
Yeah.
If it's got a bent door on it, we fix it.
Yep. That's how I am with my guys. I'm like, hey, I tell them, I'm like, get on that heave. I don't care if a window's got a crack in it, get it replaced. You know, nothing's gonna look like crap on my job. So
hell yeah,
you're gonna pull up and go, these guys are pros.
They
might be a little dirty because they're working,
but
hey, they'll get washed. My guys will seriously. I don't even pressure wash them because it's pointless to pressure wash anymore because the way the paint is, it chips it so bad.
Yeah.
So I just have them take the fire hose to it 90% of the time with a brush. They get it just as clean as you would with a pressure washer.
Yeah. Well, and if you have good looking machines, that's how you get customers.
You get more work.
Yeah.
People see you. They're like, hey, man, I just saw you over here doing this job.
Great work. Got good looking machines. Take care of their stuff.
Yeah.
Valuable.
Yeah.
So.
It's a giant billboard, dude.
Yes. That's right.
So, Colton, tell everybody how we can listen to your show, watch you on YouTube, all that.
Well, you can find the Certified Wrench podcast. I'm on all social medias. I don't really do too much on the LinkedIn. It's a pain in the ass, in my opinion. But Instagram is Certified Wrench _podcast. Certified Wrench podcast on Facebook and TikTok. YouTube also, Certified Wrench Podcast. And if you guys need to email me, certifiedwrenchpodcast@gmail.com. Sorry, I'm laughing because I do the same thing on every episode. And you guys can catch the podcast on basically all streaming platforms. It's on like 15 different things.
Yeah, we're on the same.
iTunes, Spotify, iHeartMusic, all that stuff. Yep. That's it, man. If you guys could... like and subscribe, rate and review. I highly appreciate it.
Yeah, same to you as well, sir. We appreciate you coming on.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
All right, guys, my turn. If you could, please like and subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube. Please give us our 5 stars on Spotify. Leave us a review on iTunes. I don't care if it's my breath stinks or we cuss too much. I don't care. Just leave us something. If you could check out our Patreon, we're going to be, we got hats coming in, and we're going to be starting the on-grade roundtable. And Colton's going to be one of our guys that comes on, and we're going to talk about maintenance. He'll have a slideshow we'll build and stuff, and we'll get you guys on and start helping people with starting their company or growing it or whatever they're wanting to do. We'll show you some estimating and stuff like that. So check that out. That's exclusive for our Patreon people. Please check us out on our social media, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and I think we're on LinkedIn. Yeah, we're on LinkedIn. Yeah, we are. I do all the posting. I should know this, right?
Yep.
So the YouTube channel's growing. Spotify's growing. Everything's growing, man. And we're excited. Thank you guys for supporting us. And we hope to keep seeing you guys support us and keep watching us grow the show. Remember, I do leave the questions, guys, down on the Spotify. So, please answer those questions. I give polls because the polls really help us figure out what we need to talk about. So thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Stay classy. Later.